Hey traders, Nick, recapping week ending 10/6. Let's start with Friday. Spooky open. I'm just saying that sarcastically. Okay, so Friday ended flat on the major indices, down a little bit more on the small caps. So like 0.3% down on the small caps. The Nasdaq closed green, I believe, and the S&P down less than 0.1%. And the VIX was up 3.5% to 9.5. Yes. Anyway, I'm saying this sarcastically because if you follow like CNBC, the media, for example, they covered it like it was a giant correction. So it's a win for the bulls on paper for me. However, they refused to take it because they kept complaining all day because it was red. Oh my gosh, we're falling out of bed. Here's where we are. This is all-time high. That's the S&P. How could they be complaining? This is a byproduct of years of central bank putting a pacifier in our mouths, and as soon as the food comes out or the pacifier comes out, we start crying, just like a baby. So this too shall pass. This is not a start to, I don't start shorting until I see breakdowns, and I'll let us know as soon as I see those happen. Okay, so how did the week end? The week ended positive, obviously. This is the week. This is the S&P, NASDAQ, and IWM. Every bar is 1 week. Look at the S&P breakout. How could they be complaining? One red tick in the morning, they're already asking, is this the end of the run for stocks? Literally, that's what they asked first thing in the morning on CNBC. Fools. I should say foolish behavior. QQQ, NASDAQ, and the small caps still on an amazing tear. Okay, so next week we have I have a couple of things I want to concentrate on the calendar. Number one is Fed minutes, I believe, come out on Wednesday, and end of the week we see inflation numbers. Those are important because those drive the Fed. They want to control inflation. So if they see inflation picking up, then people will start baking in the December hike even more. Right now, it's a coin flip. They give you 60%, but to me, it's so close to 50%, which is just gambling. Coin flip, odds-wise. So, but I'm also interested in looking at Apple and Google, FANG. Today, Google made a statement. So I want to see how they follow through with that. Those were laggards while industries were leading, like transportation, and transportation faltered. So I want to see I want to see who picks up the slack. And that's, quote, the rotation people talk about. And I mentioned it before. People don't want to sell everything, so they sell something to buy something. So recently, FANG was under pressure, and then, suddenly, whoops, that is not the right FANG. Sorry about that. This is FANG. It was under pressure, and everybody said, sell the big guys, and then suddenly they woke up and bounced. So money will flow out of one thing into another. So I'm keeping an eye on that, and more importantly on Apple, more on Apple a little bit later, because higher lows knocking on a level where I feel that it's either going to be 152 or 158 within 2 days. A breakout is coming, and the direction, I don't know. Today's range was kind of tight and even tighter from days and days, and now it's all in one little ball of energy. So it's either this, just so we'd remember we talked about it, or that. Okay. All right. So I think speaking of Apple, we can jump. Catalan government. So will they talk? Will they sever? Will they meet the Catalonia, the officials there, in spite of Spain telling them not to? Will they go ahead and say we're not part of you anymore? We're all by ourselves. And if so, what will happen in the euro? Will the eurozone say no? You got to stay in line with your country, or what? So, but nobody's listening. This could affect the dollar, and it could affect the trade next week. Okay, jumping into. Also, there are some earnings. I'll include earnings calendar in my write-up. So here is oil. We knew not to chase it up here. We knew that it was only a matter of time before it starts falling. Why? Because of this. They fought so hard. OPEC fought so hard for years. Last year, especially when they brought down oil to the 30s, they were bleeding because they wanted to capture market share, and they got some back. They're not going to let it go. that easily. They have, dead businesses lining the streets. They're not going to say, okay, let's rally it back to 60 so we can lose more market share to the Americans and the Western world and the Canadians and the Russians. So that's not going to happen. The thesis was that Aramco IPO is coming, so they want to prop up the oil price. I don't believe it. That company has way more than just oil on its plate, I believe. Who knows what's behind the door, so to speak. So I don't believe that thesis yet. So here it is falling hard. And this would be a logical place for it to land because this was the platform from which this sprang higher. So 48, 47 and a half. And if it falls here, it might bounce a little bit, but it could fall even further and it still be normal inside this descending channel. That's oil. Apple is next, I believe. Apple. Why do I put this here even though I already talked about it? If you remember this chart right here, this little ghost light colored, this is what happened here. And look how matched they are. This is what's happening now. This is what happened before. So the same price pattern behavior, which means that based on this candle, I said it's tight, right? So it might follow 152 and follow this. I'm not forecasting it. I'm just showing you how history repeats itself. I literally copied these candles and moved them over to here to see how it behaves with it. Look how closely it matched with, the light colored gray with the actual ticks. So this is Apple. It's important to see what happens from here on out. Costco today reported last night or this morning, I'm not sure. Last night reported and it got clobbered today. I think it ended up down 5%. I don't know exactly, maybe a little bit more. I don't want to catch it right now, although I love the company, because here's the last time it got hammered. That's the first drop on earnings. It took it a few days before it settled down. And I wanted to see the volume. The volume on the bigger drop here was bigger, not as big here. So we shall see after it settles the day. I took this early in the day, so I should have revisited it. Actually, I can do that real quickly here. Cost. Boom. Okay, so this is the same chart. Volume was pretty big, just like last time. Okay, so it's to be respected. That's what I usually say. A candle this big deserves respect, meaning I don't just jump in. And if I do want to buy it, I'll take small pieces. All right, Bristol-Myers is looking technically bullish. This is a weekly candle, I believe. But regardless, it's doing a rounding bottom and it's butting up against the neckline. So if they, yes, it is a weekly because there's a gap here. If they break through the neckline, they overshoot higher. Now, this in theory is good, but let me show you why there might be a hitch in the giddy up here, so to speak. Okay, this is that same chart, only daily. And now you can see the gap that they felt, a couple of earnings, whether 5 earnings ago, all the way down to here. And it took them this long to recover this. And once they get here, if they're able to recover, they might overshoot higher, a lot higher, but it's not a given yet. All right, so Bristol-Myers is worth a look. Let's see, go back to where we were. There it is. See, now in the weekly candle, you don't see that gap because it's only one day out of a whole week. So it's a bad week, but it doesn't physically show the gap. I would probably wait to see a breakout before I go back into it. All right, so Kansas City Southern, I don't trade it, but it came up. It fell hard today. I forget why. Probably because we had a spike in rates. Because for some reason when we had the on Friday the jobs number from the government came out negative, which is totally bogus, by the way. I can't believe they even published it because it's based on phone calls, surveys. So if people don't pick up the phone or don't answer the surveys, then they don't get counted. So it's completely ridiculous. You should go by the ADP, which is actual data. And ADP was in line, basically. Minus 33,000. I can't believe they shouldn't have posted it. It caused a ruckus in the morning, and the dollar shot up and rates shot up because for some reason people interpreted it as, okay, they're going to be raising rates in December. I didn't see the tie-in, but this is probably why they fell, because these guys pay dividends and they move inversely related with rates. Rate hikes, these guys fall because they're competing for our money. All right, so if they lose this trend, I'm not saying they will. I didn't check it at the end of the day. This was earlier. If they lose their trend, then this will be a resting place, 102-ish, and then 100-ish. And this could be weak hands. I'm not saying it's going there. I'm just discussing these levels just for educational purposes. Okay, UAL Airlines, they rallied all week on the prospect that they can raise prices. But now United Airlines, which I'm long, is at a very important point because it's a pivot point. What do I mean by that? It is a pivot point where things are going to happen, but they have history here. So this is that same level. You know, back then they busted through it, used it as support, and then failed miserably. We saw it coming, kind of an inverse head and shoulders. And they overshot down, and here they are back to the scene of the crime. So this is a place where a lot of sales and purchases have happened. So that tends to happen again. So it is resistance until broken through. So the onus is on the bulls to prevail, meaning they have to do a lot of work. Now, that was an easy candle. I don't know what it was about. That headline, I guess, that raised prices. But so from here, they're going to have to do some work. I'm long airlines. I'm long this one in JetBlue. So I may trim a little bit just in case and then re-engage long if they dip. If not, that's the way I do it. I mean, that's what I think about it. Okay, so Nick signing out. If you have any questions, let me know.